But what we've actually done is we've developed a really good, small but hard-working committee who are dedicated to stepping stones across the spectrum. And we've actually set up a series of social hubs in different locations where people can come along and be themselves, meet like-minded people, similar things, non-judgmental, take part in activities.
We have come a very long way because we now have several hubs. We have every year we have this big event, either a concert or a ball. Plus as well we have we go to several events like the Ainsdale Show, the Prestwich Carnival.
We're actually offering specialist counselling service to adults who are on the autistic spectrum, so it enables them to access a fully trained counsellor, and it helps them, it really does. And we do that for 4 hours a month. We're hoping to expand that when more funding comes in, because Stepping Stones is a self-funding organisation.
We were very lucky as well to get some funding from Forever Manchester with the comic relief. It was comic relief, but it was done through Forever Manchester. And with that, we have got our own specialist counsellor who comes to the Prestwich Hub.
As a person-centred counsellor, that process is very much about the person, the unique individual. Just recognising that the normality of emotions and reactions to situations, to experiences we have in life. So for people with autism, of course, it depends on their experience in relation to how their life experiences goes, but we are all individual, okay, so we all have emotions. So often what can happen in relation to people with autism is they are given that sort of tag as their identity and they're treated accordingly. So of course that can actually block the human aspect, the personality being able to develop and grow. But of course they still hurt and they still feel and they still think, just in relation to everyday life and as human beings.
So on a day-to-day basis, you must see people with a problem that might start to ease just by the fact that they're sitting down in a quiet space and discussing it with you, or does it not work that way particularly?
It does, because it's person-centred. It's about me facilitating their process. So often as human beings, what we do is we live within the world, we carry out our roles in everyday life. We experience different things, but because we live in a society like we do, we don't often get to process what we take on, what happens to us, how we're affected by that. So of course, in relation to someone who hasn't got autism, trying to sort of live every day in this so-called normal world, the experiences can be totally different in relation to how you see that within context of your understanding. So just having the space to be able to facilitate that person to look at their own words and put some normality within that, and just to be able to examine the words, examine their experiences as to what it meant for them. And that then gives clarity of how they're feeling, how they're thinking about something, and that can lead to making decisions that are right for them, and it can feel quite empowering for them to actually realise the normality around their feelings and their thoughts. Whereas living in a world that in some situations they are seen as abnormal. So to be able to actually think, right, okay, yeah, that's fine for me to think that. That's not quite okay for me to think that. Just, because I'm experiencing autism, it doesn't make it wrong, it just makes it different. And different is okay.
We've been running now for about 4 years, and the initial idea was to raise awareness of autism and to have an autumn ball, which we were giving the money to other organisations, and we did. But what came of that was a kind of a natural evolution, if you like, and we started up our social hubs. So we've learnt a lot over the last few years. We've built up the hubs, so we now have them in Stockport, Prestwich and Crawshire Booth in Lancashire.
So Jake, could you just give us an idea what this place is, the Phoenix Centre and Stepping Stones across the spectrum?
This is the hub. This is where people gather to have fun, like having drinks and that. Yeah, like together.
I heard about it because I know Karen, because Karen's got a daughter the same age as my PJ. They went to college together in daycare, so she taught me about the hub. So I thought I'll put something back in and I'll come and I'll do a bit of cooking and show the young people my recipes.
Is PJ your son then?
Yeah, he's my son, yeah.
And he has autism, I understand?
He's got very severe autism. He can't speak. Basically, the only thing he can do for himself is walk. He's still in nappies, no speech. He's got all the characteristics of autism.
As an idea, as a parent, what do you think you'll be able to get from attending the hub? What will it give you?
Well, I'm speaking to other young people with autism and they're letting me know their feelings where PJ can't. I even found out today about, like, I always taught every autistic person they couldn't give you eye contact, but I only found out today, and obviously PJ's nearly 26 and I thought I knew everything about autism, but seemingly a lot of people can give you eye contact, so I found that out today. So it's just interesting to speak to other young people with autism because it kind of gives me an insight about what way PJ's feeling and that he can't tell me, so it's been really good, yeah.
So one of the other things that we have been doing is some work around volunteering and employment. So I've done CVs with a few people, and also we have helped people to get into some volunteer work that they're interested in. So for example, a young man called Craig, whose biggest interest is cricket, and he loves Lancashire Cricket Club, and he'd not been able to get in there as a volunteer, but through Stepping Stones and through our work, he's just finished his first season and he's going to go back again next season. And also we offer volunteering opportunities within our own organisation, which is really important. So we have Kelvin, who comes and does the radio. He actually works in the office with us and he's on our committee. And that was again through Stepping Stones we did that, and anyone is welcome in any way that they want to volunteer with us. And Carly as well, she does a slot on the radio on a Monday, and we're looking at where all the places that she can sing. So for example, I'm in talks with Rossendale Lions, who are interested in going along and doing some things for them.
We've also held 2 balls, one in 2014, one in 2016, where all the performers were actually on the autistic spectrum. And we've held 2 concerts, one in 2015, one in 2016, once again where all the performers have been on the autistic spectrum. The last one with the Berry Met was a phenomenal night, where we went all the way from a violinist, guitarist, opera singer, singer-songwriters, classical guitar, acoustic guitar, electrical guitar, more towards the Jimi Hendrix area, and a number of outstanding female singers as well. That was a great success, it really, really was. What we've also done as well is we've also got our own radio show, which we're very proud of, as you know, John, because I actually interviewed you a couple of weeks back, and that allows a number of the adults with autism to come on, interview people, present their own music, discuss things they want to discuss news items, things like this. We're very proud of the radio show, which is on All FM 96.9 and also goes out on the internet as well.
Our aim was to have a centre, and that is still our aim, because we feel if we have a base, and I just don't mean 1 or 2 rooms, we want a pretty big space so we can have our office there. We rent some office space over here in Prestwich, but of course it's not ours, so yes, we have a little filing cabinet, but that's not enough. My living room, corners now are just filled with paperwork, because as we've expanded, of course, there's more paperwork.
We have a number of parents who come along with their offspring or come along individually themselves to social hubs, and we thought it would be a good idea if we had one specifically aimed at adults with autism, for again to do similar to the adult stepping stones to friendship that we run now, but it will be primarily for parents who themselves are on the spectrum. By being parents, obviously they have children, to meet other like-minded people, find out issues, access counselling where possible. It's good for them to actually be as relaxed amongst people who aren't judgmental. So if you're on the spectrum and you're an adult, please feel free to come along to our hubs.